So you say you got a hankering to play a Damphir, a Gearforged, a Goblin, or a Rikusan in your Tales of the Valiant games. Perhaps you're looking for more gear to equip and spells to cast. Maybe you and your fellow players are looking to build a stronghold and use that as a base of operations. Well, you're going to find all that and more inside the Tales of the Valiant Player's Guide 2 from Kobold Press. And I'll be sharing my review right after this. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to share my review of the Tales of the Valiant Player's Guide 2 from Kobold Press. This hardcover carries an MSRP of $49.99, $59.99 with PDF. And if you want to grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG, you can do so for $29.99. Having said all that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the Tales of the Valiant Player's Guide 2. A couple of things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Kobold Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. It's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. First thing we'll do is take a peek at the credits page. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life, so let's give credit where credit is due. The Player's Guide 2 is chock full of player-facing content. In fact, all of this book is aimed at the players, which also means the game master is going to get a lot of use out of this too. But there are no sections where it's like, oh, well, this is game master's eyes only. Nope, not at all. This is all for the players and game masters. We're going to start off with an introduction telling us what's in this book. And then we're going to go dive right on into our classes. So we've got new subclasses. We've got new boons because we have epic play rules, which will take player characters up to 30th level now. So we have new boons. We have the heroic boons that will kick in at 10th level. And then we have epic boons that kick in at 20th level. So all of the classes that we currently have in Tales of the Valiant will get some new content, some new subclasses. We also have 3 brand new classes themselves. So we have the dual casting Thierge. We also have the Witch and the Vanguard. And of course, because they are new classes, we will have more page space devoted to those within here, as opposed to the subclasses that are being added for the established classes. So a lot of page space will be devoted to these new options for the player characters as far as their classes and their subclasses. And then we will move on into our new lineages. So we have 9 new lineages, and they include the aforementioned Damphir, Gearforged, Goblin, the Rikusan. I think that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. And I got to say, very cool new lineages for people to choose from. And they really do tackle a wide variety of types of characters. So if you like playing as a goblin, well, we now have the goblin. If you want to play as the offspring of a human and a vampire, well, we got Damphir. If you're looking to play sort of a vegetable creature, we have the Rikusan. So as I mentioned, we have 9 brand new lineages and a lot of details with them. Then we get into our heritages. So we have a I believe it's 14, if I remember correctly, new heritages that you can utilize with any lineage. So lots and lots of character creation options. In fact, I want to say with the core book, Player's Guide 1 and Player's Guide 2, I believe you have got more character creation options as far as your species and your classes and your subclasses than you would find in 5.5 Dungeons and Dragons. Off the top of my head, I think it's actually a pretty big gap between the two. We also have new equipment and new magic items. We have some new spellcasting options that I thought were pretty cool. So we've got the option if you want to use spell point pools as opposed to utilizing spell slots. Spell slots are a holdover for a long, long time in fantasy role-playing games of many different stripes. And the point pool shakes things up a bit. You're also not going to have to sit there and read a whole lot of pages just to be able to utilize the spell point pool system. In fact, I think all in all, it's 3 pages. Pretty concise. Then we've got a bunch of new spells. So that's very cool. I got to say, I was very impressed by just the sheer amount of content and useful content that's contained in the Player's Guide 2. As far as our production quality, really well done. Nice, heavy paper stock. And I like the Kobold Press artwork. I always have. And it's very uniform throughout. So that is also something that I always look for. We also have some rules involving creating your own base of operations. So not only will we have information about creating essentially a castle or a keep or wizard's tower or what have you, we have information about various different aspects of that base of operations, like a bathhouse, a brewery, a chef's kitchen, the Mystic Foundry, a prison, a stable. So all of these are included in the mix, as well as various different staff who you would utilize at your stronghold. Now, I will point out, this is not real heavy domain play. But having said that, that also means you don't need to have a business degree in order for the player characters to have their own base of operations. So I dug that a lot as well. We've got some expanded downtime. And then we have those rules that I had mentioned, that we have the epic advancement, taking the player characters up to 30th level if you would like. And then we will wrap up with some appendices and some tables. So that is a peek inside the Tales of the Valiant Player's Guide 2 from Kobold Press. Let's swing on over to the other camera. I'm going to share some final thoughts as well as my review score. As I just mentioned, I was really impressed by the just sheer amount of content that you're going to find inside the Player's Guide 2. I am a fan of Tales of the Valiant. I think Tales of the Valiant is very, very well done. I think its biggest selling point is for people who are familiar with the 5e mechanics. Maybe they want to move away from Wizards of the Coast, but they don't necessarily want to leave those mechanics behind and a lot of the feel of that epic fantasy that they got with Dungeons and Dragons. Well, you've got Tales of the Valiant, and Tales of the Valiant also utilizes the Midgard setting, one of my absolute favorite fantasy settings in all of role-playing. So this Player's Guide 2 brings a lot of cool new stuff to your game table, a lot more options for your character creation. Now, is everything a grand slam? No, there are a few things I thought, I guess that's all right. But for the most part, it's really, really well done. And most players and most game masters are going to be able to utilize a ton of this content, maybe not everything in the book, but a ton of this content at their game table. So all in all, I give the Tales of the Valiant Player's Guide 2 on a scale of 0 to 10, a 9 out of 10. It is that good. If you are enjoying Tales of the Valiant, you definitely, as a game master, need to have this in your collection for both you and your players to utilize. All right, that's it for this time out. If you enjoy the Gaming Gang and would like to support the outlet, you can do so in a few ways. First, by utilizing our affiliate links to the One Bookshelf sites, such as DriveThruRPG. To do so, simply visit thegaminggang.com, click on one of our ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a 5% commission. You can also make a one-time donation by way of PayPal and even become a monthly member of our Patreon. You'll find links down in the show notes. Also in those show notes, you're going to find an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free to sign up, so be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you like the video, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central, as I bring you the latest in tabletop role-playing game news and more. Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.